Good morning, everybody. It's the Knitty Professor here. I wanted to discuss with you today 5 Colorwork knitting books that I would not want to be without. So keeping in mind that I probably have dozens of Colorwork knitting books that I would not want to be without, but I thought I would profile a few here that you may be familiar with, and Mistletoe is going to help me. Hey, Mistletoe. She's staying safe. Our son's husky is really interested in the cats, so she's probably going to be a companion here while we're getting this done. So I'm going to start with this book. It's called The New Stranded Colorwork Techniques and Patterns for Vibrant Knitwear. Mistletoe likes that one a lot. And I'm going to be honest, this one I haven't mined as much as I possibly could. I've looked through it, paged through it, read through it multiple times, and let me just show you why I am so glad I have this book. Here's, oh, we got another cat. Hi, Paris. Gorgeous sweater. I think it'd be really cool to make that. Hey, Paris. Got to move a little bit, honey. Move along, little cat. Let's see what else we have in here. She's got some children's garments. So here's a really cute baby sweater and a really cute baby model too. Paris, get your butt out of the way. Paris wants to have a sweater. And even just on the front cover, these closures that she uses are kind of traditional in, I think, Scandinavian traditions. And let me see. Oh, I like this one too. It's kind of a French fleur-de-lis type of motif. Isn't that gorgeous? I want to knit all of these, and yet they're not exactly my style, so I would change all of them. Let me just give you the date is 2009. And the publisher is, well, it says Interweave Press. Yeah. And the author is Mary Scott Huff. Yeah, Interweave, there's the publishing information. So I'm going to link all these books for you. And if you've used these books, I would be really curious to know your experience. She's got a lot of information on stranded colorwork techniques, interest in vintage patterns. It's just kind of her own collection, her own take on what you could do with color work. Here's a beautiful men's sweater. I've never knit a collar like that, but that just looks so practical. I think even my son could go for that. He is very masculine in his taste. Here's the back of that green sweater. Just give you an idea of some more. Hi, Paris. And here's one with fish. Look out, Paris. Fish. This is just an incredible source book. There's a couple patterns here that involve felting. So color work with felting. I mean, it just goes on and on. Another beautiful lavender vest. And there's one specific motif. So I've used this now even actively. Look out, Paris. You're kind of messing up my setup here, kitty cat. So if you see these kinds of, I'm going to call them birds of paradise in the bottom of this sweater. Get even closer. So I took this one motif and I incorporated it into a sweater of my own, which I've shown you. And let's see if I can get in close enough to show you how I managed these birds of paradise in my kind of bird sweater. Now, what I did wrong here was I didn't use enough contrast in the yarn. I love these colors together, and they're very harmonious, and they blend, and they work well in the ensemble of the sweater. But I'll probably do this motif again, and when I do, I will definitely use higher contrast. So that's one book. I think this is just awesome. And a second book, here's another book that I have not used enough. So this is the Knitsonik Stranded Colorwork Source Book. And my younger son, actually, I kind of convinced him to get this for me for Christmas one year. Just, you know, looking at the patterns that are illustrated on there, it's so inspiring. So the author of this book, Felicity Ford, basically has a sort of approach called Knitsonik that she introduces as a way to use elements from the environment and adapt them to Colorwork patterns. And you may be familiar with this. If you are, I would love to know your experience with this book, because I just find it incredibly inspiring. There's a lot of stuff about like exploring color and shade. Look at that. Very, very inspiring. And then she has a lot of examples. Let me see if I can find some good ones, where you go out into the environment and find a motif that you find interesting and figure out a technique to take that and adapt it into a Colorwork pattern. These buildings on the top are an example of patterns in the environment that you could find, that you could sort of use as the foundation for a Colorwork motif that would mimic that. And here's another one with a landscape. I'm gonna guess those are poppies, and you can see how the colors inform the stitches below. She's got information on how to do swatching and playing with color. It's kind of it's a process that involves slower work than what I'm used to doing, because when I sit down at night after a busy day of doing whatever 93 things I've been doing, I just want to grab a bag with a knitting project that I've started and just go. So I think, well, I'll be retired in the next year or so. At that point, I will be able to really take advantage of the ideas in this book. Let me see if I can find a couple more examples for you. Again, it's inspiring, and it sort of gets your creativity flowing. I mean, you can just see even on this page is how she's taken things from the real world and converted them, whether it's by using color or by even using similar motifs, into patterns that you could knit. There's some cool ones with bricks in here. And some of them you're like, well, that, you know, the relationship is kind of opaque, but you know, again, it's about inspiration. It's not necessarily about copying. It's more about, you could call it objet trouvé, like found objects, and how you can mine the world around you, and maybe, you know, make your knitting more attuned to the environment. Here's one that's a little bit more obvious, the relationship between, so the original architectural pattern and that knitting just next to it right here. There you see the relationship really closely. So anyhow, so this is the Stranded Colorwork source book, and I probably will make more use of this when I am retired, because guess what, I'll have more time. Then here's another book that, hey Paris, this is called Fearless Fair Isle Knitting. And the author here is Kathleen Taylor. So again, I'm assuming some of you are familiar with this book. It almost looks like she was inspired by the previous book when you look up top here. And here are a couple of examples of patterns that she has in here. Really, really inspiring, exciting. She's got some stuff on Fair Isle basics and a lot of just encouragement to not regard it as something that is, you know, a step above the norm. Fair Isle is fabulous, Fair Isle is fun, Fair Isle is easy, I am not afraid. So this is kind of a mantra that she uses. She talks about newbies and steeking, learning to cut your Fair Isle. A couple more inspiring pictures even just here in the introduction. Isn't that gorgeous? Playing with color again is a strong emphasis in this wonderful book. And you know, most any of the garments that she has in here, you can kind of just, again, mine for information. Look at those patterns. Lots and lots of ideas, extremely well executed. And, you know, she's kind of like holding your hand like a friend. Here's the sweater that uses those. It's a child's cardigan. Just beautiful. kind of like your friend, accompanying you on an exciting and sometimes daunting journey. I've decided that I would very much like to knit this Christmas stocking. I've been looking for patterns for good Christmas stockings, and this one fits the bill. I would probably change the colors and make them more Christmassy, but that would be easy to do. I could just change out some blues for some greens, some of the browns for reds, and then you're set. And there are little tables for all of the, all the Colorwork charts and that. I've been, sort of making use of those. So you can take those and you can put them in whatever you want. Let me see. I think there was one that I actually used from this book, but I don't know. I keep these on the shelf and I just keep going back to them for ideas, because sometimes graphing out my own charts is, again, I just don't have time for it. So that's why I really enjoy books like these. Here she's kind of done the same thing that I did with the Birds of Paradise. She's got a dragon, and it's a little bit hard to make out, but if you look at it at the right angle, then it comes out. But in the meantime, you've got this kind of interesting motif that makes your eye wander and take in and just enjoy, revel in the knitting. Here's a whole ensemble for a child. She's got the pants and the sweater. Love the colors. Huge variety of colors. So the inspiration is just kind of endless. So this one is Fearless Fair Isle Knitting. 30 gorgeous original sweaters, socks, mittens, and more. Kathleen Taylor. Next to the last book, number 4. I've shown you this briefly. 150 Scandinavian Motifs, the Knitter's Directory. Now this is by Mary Jane Mucklestone. And even just on the back cover, you see what I'm talking about. So the beauty of this book is, and you can see the goats on the back. Yes, I use the goats. She has these designs charted out and knitted up. So you get an idea of what they look like in real life. And here's another example. So we see these reindeer here. And I was like, yes, I love those. And I incorporated that very motif into this hat, which is made of yarn, which is part possum. And, I'm not even sure where I found the other motifs, but I went through these books and I just grabbed them. I just counted the number of stitches I need in a row and found designs that I could divide that into like 6 or 8 or 10 sections or however many and incorporate that. And I just love the colors in this hat. I think it turned out really, really beautifully. But the deer, straight out of here. Straight out of this book. What else do we have in here? She's got trees, farm animals. Look at the pigs. They've got little hearts in them. Hey, Mistletoe. Mistletoe's about to pay another visit. Let me see what else I can show you. It's just endless. So, when you go to this book, you'll see what I mean. And here are the little fox heads that I took for that hat. Just took them right out of here, right? That's, it's meant to be fodder for your knitting imagination. Let me see, I'll show you just a couple more. Then you can get really simple, like here, just some circles, triangles. I could look in these books all day. Sometimes at night after I'm done knitting and I'm just, about to go to bed, I'll just page through something like this. It just makes me so happy. Inspires me for the next day's knitting to see where I want to take it. And the table of contents is kind of like this. It just shows you all the motifs and the pages where they're found in the charts. So just a fantastic. Hey, Mistletoe. Cat crossing, cat crossing. Go on, keep going. There we go. Oh, goodness, now they're going to fight. So 150 Scandinavian Motifs. Mary Jane Mucklestone. This is also from Interweave. And I think it's a little over a decade old, but most of these books you can still get. I've gotten a lot of knitting books just used too. You could save a ton of money buying them from Goodwill. Yeah, 2013. Fantastic. And the last one I want to show you, I just love this book. Maybe you've seen this one too, Colorwork Creations. And the author is Susan Anderson Freed. And there's quite a touching story behind this, because she was diagnosed with cancer and went through treatment, and it just was a whole ordeal for her. And she kind of knit her way through that ordeal and developed all these designs and made all these hats and mittens. And so it's kind of inspiring, you know, to take a negative experience like that and turn it into an opportunity for creativity. And then she shares that with the rest of us in this glorious book, which was published, again, probably about 10 years ago. I actually found this at a bookstore, 2010, by F.W. Media. So it says she learned to knit at the age of 9 from her grandmother, passed the craft along to her own daughter. By the way, I talked to my daughter last night, and she's really excited to come on here with me. So we're going to do that in 10 days or so. And she was a professor of computer science. Really interesting. So anyhow, I just love this book. It's time for something. Just giving you an example. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me, but I made, I think it's called chuyo, like a hat with ear flaps, kind of a South American design for my son that incorporated mainly motifs from this book. You can see just how glorious they are. And the patterns are arranged for hats on the one hand and mittens on the other. Here is a tam. Isn't that beautiful? They're just so, so beautiful. I'm really glad that I was able to, you know, support the author by purchasing this book, because it's just fabulous. Incredible stuff. All these motifs, the charts are, they're really big. You know, you can see they're just really easy to use. I just want to knit all this stuff. Here's her own version of a chuyo. I think it's called chuyo. But the hat I made for my son is similar to that. Only I was having trouble figuring out how to make the flaps. I'll have to show you. Hopefully he'll bring it here with him when he comes, and I can show it to you. But I ended up treating the ear flaps like sock toes, but I just started them with 6 stitches instead of 14, and, you know, figured out how to shape them. I could not figure out how to do a stockinette stitch ear flap like that. So I think the way I did it was better, because it's 2 layers, you know. But a couple of outcomes from this book, I did use on this sweater. Again, I took motifs from all kinds of books. So this bird down here, I took from her book, used her patterns, really turned out nice. And then a couple months ago, I showed you, yeah, no, we don't want to knead on the hat, honey. She's like taking my knitwear and kneading on it. Nice cat. An unfinished work that I need to go back to. I was struggling with the gauge and whether or not to use DPNs, but all of the motifs from this scarf that I've been working on in sort of hit or miss fashion are taken from Colorwork Creations. And you can see, even with my gauge problems, so, you know, I started this quite a while back and I was really having trouble with the floats. But I finally, when I figured out that I should use circular needles as DPNs, that solved the problem. And I think it's going to be gorgeous. I've got 8 tiles I think I'm going to integrate into this, and it's a tube, right? So it's a tube scarf. When I, even with this, it's like, too bad. Am I going to rip it out? No, that's just not the kind of knitter I am. I knit for fun, not for perfection. But I think, and then I'll obviously block it. I think it'll turn out just fine. It'll be really gorgeous. Besides, you know, people don't notice that kind of thing. Unless you're just, you've got a burr up your ass or something. People, they just don't notice that your tension's off. I really don't think they do. I think they would have to be quite snobbish to care. So I'm like, do I care? Nah. In any case, then I had one other hat out here. Again, not enough color contrast, but you can see. So I took owls. I don't even remember what book I took these owls from. But this is 100% natural alpaca undyed. And so I decided I was going to use both of the yarns in a colorwork hat. And even though there's not a whole lot of contrast, Believe me, this is one of my favorite go-to hats to wear. And I mean, you can tell that it's Colorwork, so I'm happy with it. I think it's nice to use undyed yarn from time to time. So anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this little deep dive into some of my favorite books on Colorwork. And if you have books that you would like to see me talk about, let me know. There are more, and if you have any interest at all in me coming back with other books for you, I'd be more than happy to do it. So hope you're having fun getting ready for the holidays and you have family coming like I do. I feel very fortunate that all my kids are going to be here, which is a pretty rare event because they're all in their mid-20s. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Have a great day. We'll talk soon. Bye.